Welcome to this Let's Build of LEGO set number 7930 Bounty Hunter Assault Gunship. My name is Ava Unit 4A, and thank you for tuning in. I'm experimenting with Let's Builds because the last two that I've done ran really flippin' long. Ran for hours. Like it took me hours to build them, but I was also throwing in a lot of just casual commentary and whatever it is in there. So I figured I'd try and do it this way and see what happens. This also is an experiment. So I've set up the camera in a slightly different angle and I'm a little more focused in this one. So we'll see how it turns out. First off, I have never seen Star Wars The Clone Wars, the television series that this vehicle comes from. I know absolutely nothing about it. Well, I know bits and pieces. I know it takes place between episodes 2 and episode 3. That's all I know. And it features Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and pretty much all the characters who had been established in the first and second movie. And of course, it ends with uh, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine being kidnapped by the Separatist army. Uh, Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't know any of the characters outside of those who already existed in episodes 1, 2, and those eventually in episode 3. That being said, I had seen this ship before, but it was a little bit of an impulse buy. Like, oh, it looks neat. I don't know any of the none of the like. There's no R2 units. Uh, there's no droids. There's no separatist leaders. There's no it says bounty hunter assault gunship. Well, I assume it's like, oh, well, maybe Boba Fett is in here, kind of a teenage Boba Fett. Maybe it involves him. Well, it didn't, but you know how that goes. But I'd seen it a couple of times in the store, and I figured, why not? So it was a bit of an impulse buy. Can't remember if I think I bought like one other set from Clone Wars, and that was it. So two sets. I'm sorry. So I have a total of three. Irrelevant, Ava. Move on. The thing that works for me, and I'll say it again at the end of this review. I'm not a. I mean, I'm going to lose about half my audience, maybe more of my audience, when I say that I'm not a big fan of the Slave One design. That's heresy. I know. Bounty hunters are the coolest things to exist in Star Wars. They're right up there with lightsabers. I get it. But that being said, I'm not a particularly big fan of the Slave One bounty hunter ship. Just, yeah, don't care. It lands weird and it's got a half egg thing and it's just kind of weird. And what are those flaps for on the side? Like I don't get that. Are those buoys where like when it lands in the water or something? Yeah. So this said bounty hunter assault gunship, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can live with that. That sounds cool, and it looks cool too. So this is one of those rare occasions when it comes to toys and even Lego sets I purchase. Usually, if there's a television series or a movie associated with those sets, I've already seen those. I knew this came from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, but I hadn't seen it. But I'm also really picky about what kind of uh, Lego sets I get that come from Star Wars specifically. So in this case, it's kind of an unusual one. It was a bit of an impulse buy, and I had no prior connection to it. I'll say. by the time I'm putting this kit together and recording all this stuff, and I've actually had the kit for a little over a year now. So, like, things that I may have known uh, a year ago when I purchased it, when I looked at the box, I was like, okay, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I can't wait to see that. I've pretty much forgotten by the time I got this. The only thing I knew was like the engines could turn, and like maybe the door on the back could open. So anything beyond that, I'd pretty much forgotten. I was trying out my dental fixtures right there. It's true, the copper canopy is large enough. Like, oh, somebody left their retainer out in the box. Okay, I'll try it out and see if it fits. There's rather large decals. I'm double checking there whether or not what the orientation of this one decal on the side of the door there is. I was surprised with this kit that the decals are surprisingly large. And I know it's cheaper and easier for Lego to manufacture these sets, but not have a stamped on pattern that you have to do for pieces that are of different colors but of the same shape. I mean, I understand that can be difficult. They still do it. I mean, they do it with minifigs all the time. But in this particular case, and there's a couple of examples later on where uh, I actually get hung up a little bit because I have to figure out, well, what's the orientation of this decal? Because they they don't they don't really show. Oh yeah, there go the little eyelash uh, rifles, whatever it is. But the decals were a bit annoying because there are a lot. There's at least three or four. I don't see any reason why they couldn't have printed on the pattern directly onto the piece rather than putting a decal onto it. That didn't. It works and it gives you a little bit of increased play with the set. But that being said, um, I think it might be a little easier. I mean, maybe I'm a little old fashioned at this point, but I thought it would have been easier if they just tampoed it on, or whatever the phrase is, so they stamped on the pattern. Like right here, I'm pointing out the fact that like that whole pattern right there, I didn't realize until I finally put it all together that oh this. I was trying to figure out how to get the panels on the side to open up at the same time as it did on the mouth. I mean the roof, but dun, dun, dun. But unfortunately, like the friction to movability ratio was kind of screwed up. But yeah, there was a lot of fun right there. That giant tadpole snail head thing. Much joy when I've discovered that. Much joy. I didn't realize the wings were actually swept backwards a little bit, or rather the the structural struts, pylons, whatever you want to call those things. Most wings in the Star Wars universe are really thin, but they call them shield generators or they call them heat radiators or whatever it is. In this case, the ship actually had thick wings, which was nice for a change. It gave it some good structural strength, especially prevented those engine pods from bouncing up and down. I like that they included the extra little part there. You can see it in the middle of the screen there. They specifically say, don't push that little red Technic pin all the way through. It actually is intended to stick out a bit on the one side. I like that they included that. Here's another example of Lego. When they design these kits, they'll try to sneak in some extra colors. You can see there's some red and some extra yellow floating around inside. They even have brown and gold on the inside of this wing design here. You're never going to see it, ever. And yet, there it is. And the blue, you're never going to see the blue. Honestly, I wasn't expecting anything like this. This engine axle, whatever you want to call it, that was running through the middle. Did not expect that. I figured there might be. I mean, the engines had to rotate, so I figured there'd be some sort of little, I don't know, a pin or something that would hold the engines in place and allow them to turn. But I was not expecting ultimately what they had planned here. Something sliding in here. It's probably some sort of a cargo bay or some sort of a pallet slider. Like, or maybe it's a spare turret that sticks out the back, or maybe it's a release catch for some bomblets that drop down the back that I had forgotten about. I didn't look at the box just before I built this, so whatever. Didn't know what was going to be happening. Of course, I saw the thing sliding back and forth, and then I noticed the techniques, and it's right about here. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's like, how slow and how much does it turn? Oh, that's cool. Cool. Should have called it the T-Wing fighter. Oops, I forgot a pair of flat panels there, Eva. Put them on. Come on. Put them on. Aww. This camera angle, I'm actually sitting on a little metal fold-up chair, whatever it is. My back is to the wall. But the problem is to the right, or above where the camera's field of view is actually a giant bed. And then to the left is a doorway. So I'm still like this camera angle is different from when I reviewed the Benny's spaceship. But that being said, it was still difficult to figure out how this was going to work. Speaking of which, I was wondering earlier how this section was going to connect to the I'll say the head compartment or whatever it was. And then I realized it has those ratcheting points. So apparently this kit is designed to separate, but it doesn't mention that. It must be one of those hidden features on Lego sets where they oh, there it is. Yeah, I realized I need the piece for one thing and I accidentally applied it too early. Glad I sorted that out. But yeah, that's actually a hidden feature. It's not mentioned in the kit, or it's not mentioned in the instructions. It's not even mentioned on the box. You can actually attach and detach this. I'll say this engine section here. You can actually detach it having to like take a bunch of blocks and plates off. Is that some sort of cargo container or a bomb right there? Not sure. There's a phrase that's thrown around in Star Wars. It's called a holocron, and I'm not sure if that's what that little 2x2 blocky thing is I put in the middle there. And here's where all the cool happens, right here. It's a pretty large swinging section. Oh, here's where the stupid happens. I'm trying to distract myself with the awesome mechanism, but it's just not happening. I think I'll just leave it that way. Get over it, man. Jeez. Rest in peace, headphones users. Seriously? Are you done?
Okay, time to get serious. That's good. Okay.
That's right. Get it out of your system. Yeah, Godzilla was originally a cross to a whale and a gorilla. Um, Maybe someone in Hollywood will come up with a cross between a snail and a sperm and a, a fish. I don't know. With eyelash laser cannon rifle things. Putting these engines together wasn't too bad. Oh, I have to do it twice? Oh, alright. It's strange. They put a 2x2 transparent yellow cylindrical block in the middle of the engine cowling. You're never going to see it. Ever. So I don't know why they put it in there. It was weird. It's a little strange how those yellow pieces turn in there. I don't know why. Yeah, it's interesting. Strange. It didn't strike me as something that would occur on something that's required to hold still when you attach it to the wings, the pylons or whatever. It says in the instructions on the opposing page that there's an actual click when you put that one piece down there. Oh, it's not aligned correctly. I wish these decals had been numbered so you know which one went on which side. when I took the panels, or when I was trying to realign those two parts, I accidentally moved where the two halves of the cylinder were supposed to go. And when I put the decal on, not only did I put the decal on in the wrong orientation, so it's on backwards, but I also covered up both parts rather than one part. In other words, when I try and take that engine apart, I'll have to sacrifice the decal and I'll have to cut it. Now, I did it correctly here, but the left engine is permanently put together like that with a decal. This is another example of a part where I wish uh, I didn't understand why it is they didn't just print the pattern directly onto the cowling parts as opposed to putting a sticker on here. I've actually done this before where stickers have um, accidentally put the sticker across two separate parts, and you're not supposed to do that because you like to be able to take the thing apart again. But it didn't interrupt the function of the kit. But if I ever want to take it apart, that's going to be an issue. Taking it off would be a pain in the ass. Period. Not quite sure what these fin things are for. I was kind of under the impression they were trying to do like a reverse Y-wing fighter fin design for like the back of the exhaust on the Y-wing, except they're putting it on the front of the engines. I think that's what they were trying to do. Not sure. I think I'm not sure how I would have done it differently either, but like maybe they didn't want to be as obstructive about it. It's kind of neat. I like it. I might turn them a little sideways so you get a little like propeller screw action with it or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. Hey, we're done. Woo! Wait, where where do the weapons go? Okay, you go in there. Where do the weapons go? Ooh, look at all those spare parts. Woof.
As I've already stated, I got this while the Clone Wars was on, but I never saw the show, so I don't know anything about this ship. Or any of the characters or anything like that. These guys are just not standing up. It's not happening. At least not on this. But I got this because it looks neat and because it's not Slave 1. That's why I got this, okay? Like, I knew the engines turned. What I didn't know is that they had this rather awesome friction. Like, I didn't know that was involved. I thought that the engines would turn individually, and I'm actually, honestly, I'm surprised they were actually able to get them synchronized inside of there. This is actually a very small, compact set, and I'm genuinely surprised that they were able to get any kind of mechanical feature built into this thing. That really, really surprised me. Maybe it does it in the show, and Lego's like, oh, we can use that for this and this and that and that. I can't say. But I really like this sliding feature. That's really neat. That being said, I was expecting with the individual engines, even though I'm surprised at the way things were arranged on the interior, I'm surprised that there was not some kind of a locking mechanism for the individual engines. Like maybe I thought that the engines would turn individually and there'd be a little latch or something you would just kind of slide in there, just poke, poke, and that was it. And I'm still kind of expecting it with this set. I was expecting, as it was going along, well, maybe not along the bottom side, but definitely along the top, I was expecting, like, maybe the reason that this slides back and forth is this is the latch. This is the lock. It turns out it's not. It drives the whole thing. So, that way you don't have to put stress on the axle that's running through the center by turning the engines individually. You're just moving this. Okay, fair enough. I would still like even if it's just kind of a light latch, I would still like something that's in here. But maybe this kit is small enough that a latch was difficult to engineer in there. I mean, I'm saying this of Lego, who, blows me away every time they put, yeah. Um, but I like this. But the thing that bothers me, and it's still kind of bugging me right now, is there's no, I mean, the whole reason I took apart, let's see, which engine was it? The whole reason I took the left engine apart is because I thought it was important that this hole on the other side line up with the hole where the thing was going to happen. I thought it was important. Turns out it's not, because I thought that I saw the hole on the outside, and then the corresponding one on the inside. I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to light it up with the little yellow piece that goes across here. Well, it doesn't. It's only attached to the single axis that runs through the center of it. And as a result of this, and you saw me playing around with it a number of times here, this left engine in particular, I don't know why, it's just the engine for whatever reason. This particular engine is really wobbly. I mean, really, really wobbly. I'm holding the axle in place. The axle is not turning, but both of these engines could really do with a little bit more stability. I'm just tapping it on the one side here, and you can see it's already affecting the one on the, let's see, that's the left engine, that's the right. So I'm tapping on the right engine, and the left engine's flopping around as well. I'm concerned that, and this also goes towards the locking mechanism. This is a tablecloth I've got on here, so friction is greater on here. But what concerns me is that if you put this on a hard, flat surface, a tabletop or on the floor or something like that, it's not carpet or something, eventually you're going to end up with toys that start doing this. I am concerned about that kind of thing happening. I like that it's, because right now, friction of the entire mechanism, the entire mechanism's friction is what's holding it in place. And I really think there should be a latch, so it locks at this position, it locks at this position, and then if you want to incorporate the sliding motion, you absolutely have that choice. That's a good idea. Enough about the engine pods. What else? There should be friction in this joint as well. I'd like to be able to hold it up, but you know that it just. And I think this last one, and I've said it a couple of times now. I said it was too small. I think the problem with this ship, which I still don't even know the name of this thing, even after I built it a little bit ago, the set is too small. I think that's part of the problem with it. Ideally, I'd like to be able to get all of these figures inside. I don't even know which one of these, like, is this a member of the crew? Is this somebody that he's trying to capture? Is this a member of the crew? I don't know. Maybe he's chasing the robot. I mean, I don't know. Is this droid a member of his crew? Is it a renegade or blah, 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 blah? I don't know. Also, unusual thing with this set, unless one of these figures is a captive, this set in particular has no opposition. All of the characters, I assume, because I haven't seen the show, all of the characters are bad guys or they're neutrals. They're neutral third parties or whatever. They're not, there's no Republic characters involved. There's no Jedi, there's no civilians, there's no blah, 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 anything like that. And LEGO's actually been pretty good about that, providing, if it's an antagonistic character, antagonistic vessel, there's usually a protagonist vehicle or figure included. Now maybe one of these is a protagonist and I'm just not recognizing it. But, and I'm not expecting a little speeder or something like that. I mean, I don't know. But this does feel a little bare bones and it does feel a little small. I think part of the problem is absolutely it's not Slave 1. I think that's part of the issue here. Is I'd like to be able to get all the figures. What I like about this ship is that from here forward, that's clearly the habitat section right there. I mean, the rest of everything back here is just kind of engines and whatever. But clearly, this section here, and maybe a little bit back here, that's the habitat section. That's where the crew can visit when the ship is in space or when it's flying or whenever. Access quarters and whatever when it's on the ground and powered off, that's a different issue. But I would like this set to be a little larger. But the problem is it's probably like you only saw it a couple of times in the show, and it didn't warrant having a bigger set. And I think that's part of, like, it's a nice size set. It's a nice size vehicle. It's a Star Wars vehicle. In terms of kits that I've gotten over the years, this ship is actually a bit on the larger side. If you talk about the scale, this is actually a smaller scale than, say, an X-Wing fighter. X-Wing fighter would probably be... An X-Wing fighter would actually have a wingspan that's probably from here to here. That's probably the wingspan of your average X-Wing fighter, or maybe even a little smaller. Like, that's how big an X-Wing fighter would be from one side of the wingspan. So this ship is clearly bigger than your average Star Wars vessel, because it's meant to hold multiple people. I mean, this is whatever this ship is. You know, it's meant to compete with the likes of Slave One or eventually the Millennium Falcon. I mean, that's the size that we're talking about here. And yet for this specific Lego set, it's smaller. So I'm thinking it's kind of guest appearance, not seen very often, not really essential to have all the characters fit in there at the same time. But in terms of a Lego kit, and you know, it wasn't popular enough, it didn't appear frequently enough in the show, and maybe the fans didn't like it quite as much, it didn't warrant having a larger kit made. Um, yes, absolutely, I would love to get a bigger version of this. I'm actually really happy with this, and I'd like to be able to get. Um, I think they could have done this a little differently as well. I think it would have been probably just been easier if just this lower panel had opened and closed. Again, unless the entire panel opens up like that in the show, I can't say. I haven't seen it. I hate to sound like a broken record, but in terms of Lego sets, I think I think it was only necessary to have the lower half of this panel open up. I don't think you had to have the whole thing open up. I mean, I was able to get the figure in there easily enough, and it has got more than enough space in there. It's a little hard to tell. I don't know if that's male or female. You can never tell with Star Wars sometimes. But maybe it was a case of Lego didn't have a choice on the matter, just in terms of what the ship looks like and the kind of pieces they were using there. Maybe they didn't have a choice, so you know you could only open up one side. I don't remember. Did I mention that I would like this to have friction, this joint? It's a nice idea to have weapon storage in here. That's good. I wish I could store all the weapons, but yeah. I thought there would be like a little compartment, a little door in the back here that open up. You stick everything inside. But what we have here, it's got some small things: latching mechanism, friction, little stability issue here. So there's some small issues, but visually you don't lose anything from it. Like visually, it's neat. I do worry a little bit. These are either antenna or blasters. I can't tell, and they are eventually going to pop off really easily compared to the ones down here, which have friction on them. These have too much friction, and I wish they'd kind of moved. These are either antenna or blasters. I think it's a blaster. I think it's it's a turret of some kind, and I think tying them together so that they'd move as one piece and giving lightening up, lightening, light, being a little easing off on the friction would have helped, because I think like if you try and casually move this, eventually the periscope is going to separate from the fire hose handle. Structural integrity is a little questionable right at the engine pods. I'm going to look to see if I've got some, well, I don't know. It's difficult to say. Structural integrity right there is a little questioning, same on the other side. Friction here, I'm starting to repeat myself. Door could have opened differently, but I'm not going to worry about that. Not quite sure, now that I think about it, I'm not quite sure why there's a hatch on the back side here. If you're getting a character, if you're getting a minifig in through the side, oh, maybe I can use this for the weapon storage. No, because it'll leak out of there, now that I think about it. What's the point of having this side open up if you're going to have a boarding ramp or whatever it is on this side? It's almost like they should have like not had these bars on here. Maybe you're supposed to take them off. Maybe there's like a jailbreak or something. I don't know. But if you can get access to it through in here, and they're not supposed to be seated, why then have this door on the side? I don't know. I don't get it. Oh, those floppy engines. That concerns me. I'm not going to say don't get it. I think my ignorance of the show is not helping in my analysis of this. But overall, like there's a little problem here, and there's kind of weird here. But beyond that, not a bad set. Really not. And so with that, this is AV Unit 4A saying thanks for tuning in.